here of Tropical Storm Nate, which looks rather disorganized, and that's because the core of the system moved overland over northeastern Nicaragua and into the eastern part of Honduras, and now that center is emerging back into the Northwest Caribbean. Now, this is going to be very key and very critical for the central Gulf Coast, because ultimately it's going to define, I think, what kind of system we're going to be dealing with here. Is it going to be able to strengthen to a hurricane, Category 1, or maybe even something stronger? Or is this going to remain a bit subdued? And the key to this is going to be what it does, how it organizes overnight and during the day on Friday while it's in the Northwest Caribbean. Now, conditions are actually quite favorable for strengthening. The ocean water temperatures are extremely warm in that area. They're up at around 31, even 32 degrees Celsius, or mid to upper 80s, and that warm layer goes very deep. We have a little bit of wind shear going on, but that's forecast by all the models to relax tonight. So it looks like it should have ideal conditions for strengthening. The proximity to the land masses makes it a bit problematic, but this is not the biggest of systems, at least in terms of the core circulation. So the whole core may wind up being over water, so that might play into its favor with regards to development. But you can see it here right now. It's not that well organized. There is an Air Force reconnaissance aircraft that's flying in here at 11 o'clock. It should get there at about 11 Eastern time. And the pressures here are low. They are down at around just under 1,000 millibars. So the pressure field here certainly has held together, and the circulation has. So let's see what happens tonight, and how strong does it get during the day tomorrow? Because again, that's really going to tell us what we're going to actually be dealing with. And the Hurricane Center is going to have to do something with regards to hurricane watches or tropical storm watches in short order during the day on Friday, because this is probably going to make landfall sometime on Sunday. That's pretty quick. So they like to put those watches up inside 60 hours. They're already there. So I think they're just going to wait to see what they have when they're dealing with what they're dealing with. And this was going back to what I was saying with the models last night. The GFS was indicating a stronger upper ridge off the southeast coast of the United States, and that is really the difference here. The European was wrong in how it portrayed the ridge as weaker and further east. The ridge is going to be stronger, so this is going to allow Nate to get further to the west. Now, there's a number of complicating factors here also with regards to what Nate is going to strengthen to, because of the fact that you've got this system that's to the north of Nate. And let me just show you here on the wider satellite view. We'll pull it up to the top. You can see the clouds and showers over Florida and extending out east of the Bahamas. And there's a little bit of a twist that you can see on the satellite going on off the southwest coast of Florida. This is an upper air system. There's a little bit of a surface low reflection there. So you've got a lot of little disturbances in the atmosphere running around, and they're all going to have some kind of impact here in terms of what Nate becomes. And usually when we saw those major hurricanes develop, the atmosphere around it, I guess we could describe it as being fairly clean. There were no other weather systems that were really wreaking havoc or getting in the way, and these systems were able to thrive in their deep tropical environments. But this has a couple of issues with regards to this, with regards to strengthening, and it's how it's going to interact with that system to the north. And some of the models have been sort of playing around with that. That could be the reason why the GFS really doesn't do very much with it in terms of pressure. I mean, it does something with it, but it doesn't really go, crazy with regards to development here. So here's the surface map on the GFS, and you see how that isobar here from Cuba out into the Gulf, and then it comes back around. This is not the tropical system. This is actually that system that's over Florida and the Bahamas and off southwest Florida. There's a weak little low, kind of what we call an inverted trough here, that's in play, and that actually winds up tracking out to the west. And then you see Nate touching the northeastern corner of the Yucatan Peninsula. It's also being depicted by the GFS as a rather small system. It's not that, it doesn't cover a lot of geography, and it doesn't expand in size too much as it moves northward, at least with respect to the core. Now, the other thing that's changed here is the fact that this is going inland. This is, by the way, Sunday morning at 8 a.m. So this is a landfall Saturday night. That's why I think you may see hurricane watches go up tomorrow morning once they have a good idea of where this is going to, how this is going to develop, and they it's already, again, inside. At that point, it'll be inside 48 hours for a landfall. But this is not going to be going up the east side of the Appalachians. It'll be going up the west side of the Appalachians. Now, it is going to bring some rain up into the coastal plain and back into Kentucky and Tennessee, and actually some heavy rain in and around the low center. But as it moves northeastward, that remnant low is going to weaken, and so is the area of rain. So I'm kind of wondering just exactly what's going to be left with all of this when it moves through the Mid-Atlantic and northeastern part of the United States. When we look at the precip, the total accumulated precip, let me make sure I have the 24-hour precip. This is a total accumulated precip. Okay, so it does generate some 2-inch plus rainfall amounts. Let's hope that that's the case, because a lot of this area in the northeast and northern Mid-Atlantic has gotten very dry in the last 4 weeks. You can see the stripe of 4-inch plus rains being indicated. That pretty much follows along the track. So if you look at where all the heavy rain is, that's really the track of Nate and then the remnant low as it turns northeastward and eventually finds its way up off the New Jersey coast as a weakening system. And the reason why it weakens, by the way, is when we look at the upper air, this is striking with what's changed. Instead of having some kind of deep trough swinging across the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes, you do have a short wave there. You see that dip in the jet stream, that V shape, that trough. Okay, that I'm just going to back this up to the beginning. You can see it there, how it swings by. Nate kind of misses that. All right, and then as Nate moves in, and you can see the jet stream flow that runs from Texas on up through the Great Lakes and into New England, the big upper high is building at the same time. So that's actually weakening it as the remnant feature gets ejected to the northeast. You barely can find it by the time we get into Monday.